Tirunelveli and Bharathiar University, Coimbatore. She has completed 4 major research projects. She has published 50 research papers in international and national journals, 10 conference proceedings, and 3 book publications. Currently, she is the professor and head of Department of Environmental Sciences, University of Kerala, and Blue Charter Fellow of Association of Commonwealth Universities (ACU), visiting scientist in the University of Newcastle, Australia, and Indian Ambassador of Estuarine and Coastal Sciences Association (ECSA). Now I invite Dr. Salom Gnana, Professor and Head Department of Environmental Sciences, to deliver the lecture. Ma'am, please.
Thank you, Bindya, for the nice introduction. At the outset, I express my gratitude and thanks to Dr. Sabu Joseph, the organizing secretary of this 3 days national seminar on solid waste management, for having given me an opportunity to talk on this topic. So, because here industrial solid waste is not much covered, and I'd also like at the outset like to thank one of my PhD student who completed her PhD work in the recent past on industrial solid waste biocomposting. So I think I'll share the screen now. So can I proceed with sharing the screen?
Yes,
Yes. Please proceed, please.
Okay. So the topic is industrial solid waste with special reference to biocomposting. But when I was preparing for this talk, actually biocomposting is also one aspect which we have to address, and which is of more importance in the present era, particularly when we are talking about the circular economy, and reduce, recycle, reuse, etc. The hierarchy of waste management, when you see, this has an important role. And apart from this, the recent trends with regard to anaerobic digestion. The anaerobic digestion is nothing but what we commonly call as biogas production. So that's also an important thing. And recently, I happened to be a co-author of one of the publications on the value-added products from anaerobic digest state. So it was so interesting. So I thought I'll also share some views on the importance of anaerobic digestion and certain value-added products from the digest state, which are produced from the industrial solid waste. So we don't have much data on this um, industrial solid waste, because there are several type of industries. They produce directly the solid waste, direct solid waste production, or there are also solid waste which are produced indirectly. Indirectly means when wastewater is treated. After treatment of wastewater, most of the MSc students might be knowing about the different wastewater treatment plants, where we have the primary treatment, secondary treatment, and the secondary treatment is mostly the biological treatment. In that also we have different type of aerobic biological treatment processes, like activated sludge process, baffled reactors, and several type of aerobic disk, and also anaerobic reactors. We have the flow sludge blanket reactors, anaerobic baffled reactors, etc. So all these wastewater treatment systems also produces a type of solid waste, which we call as the sludge. So basically, industries will be producing primary and also secondary solid waste. Primary means it comes direct solid waste, and also the indirect solid waste by means of the wastewater treatment. After treating the wastewater, we get the solid form of the matter which get deposited after the wastewater treatment, which is normally called as the sludge. This industrial solid waste management is now gaining a lot of momentum because of its increasing market size. Now people are beginning to understand the importance of using the waste as a resource. Even industrial waste contains a lot of good properties from which many resources can be extracted. So it is becoming as a value. So it has also markets. The markets are also increasing. So when you see the global industrial solid waste management markets, it's increasing tremendously, particularly when you see the food processing industry. Now the consumer preferences are changing because the consumer preferences are changing because of our changing lifestyles. We are moving towards more manufactured goods, even for our food products, packed foods, which comes with a lot of packages, etc. So such types of industries are flourishing now, the food processing, because of our fast-forward lifestyle. These industries are flourishing. We more and more we depend on the processed foods like juice or any type of processed food. So these processing industries are growing, and in accordance with that, the waste sludge or the solid waste are also increasing. So to dispose this solid waste, there are different markets. They are also increasing. So you see the industrial solid waste management market size. It surpassed, for example, in US dollars, 0.9 trillion in 2019, and now the annual capacity is projected to exceed 25 billion tons globally by 2026. And you see the CAGR, that means the compound annual growth rate, it increases by 2.3% annually. So that is a measure of the annual growth of investment for a particular time. So this ongoing industrialization, coupled with the growing consumer change or consumer inclination toward more and more of manufactured or processed materials, this has fueled the output, the manufacturing output, that will also positively influence the global industrial solid waste management industry demand. And comparatively, when you compare the food processing industry and equipment manufacturing, for example, the equipment manufacturing sector has a major share in 2019. When you see the next figure, you can see the global industrial solid waste management market by the source. In 2019, you see the equipment, the blue color indicates the equipment manufacturing, that has a big market because a lot of products can be reused, recycled, etc. Then comes the mining industry, where the mine tailings and other things are used again and again. And then you can see the food processing and textile industry, and the other category which is indicated in yellow. And the next figure in bar chart, you can see the Europe industrial solid waste management market, how much of is managed by different methods. And you see the majority goes to the landfill, and then you have something which is recycled, and also incineration and combusted. And then the last thing you can see, a small fraction of it is going for composting and also anaerobic digestion. So this is the one part that we are going to focus now. This has a lot of growing demand, and it's also another major importance that we give to this particular methods, the composting and anaerobic digestion, is that they are environmentally friendly, or they follow the nature's pathway. Okay, so generally seeing industrial waste, when we think of managing the industrial waste, what option do we want to select to manage the industrial waste? We have to categorize them, and basically they are categorized as non-biodegradable and biodegradable. And obviously, the biodegradable waste only can be taken for management by means of biocombusting, as well as by means of anaerobic digestion. So some part of the waste generated from industries is non-biodegradable, and the major part is biodegradable. So when you see the examples of non-biodegradable solid waste, coming from industries. They include plastics, fly ash, synthetic fibers, gypsum, foil, glass objects, radioactive waste, etc. Generated by various type of industries like iron and steel, plant industries, fertilizer industries, chemical, drugs, dye industries. And as I said earlier, 10 to 15% of the total industrial waste are non-biodegradable and hazardous. But this is increasing. This category is increasing every year because of increase in such type of industries, and these waste cannot be broken down easily, and so they are very much harmful. And also, waste from one industry are also being utilized in the another industry. For example, in the cement industry, it uses the fly ash and also slag, which is generated from the waste from steel industries. And usually for this non-biodegradable solid waste from the industries, landfill and incineration are the methods that are being resorted to. But they are very much threat to the ecosystem because they contain a lot of hazardous material also. Then because of their non-biodegradable nature, they accumulate in the environment, and this industrial cannot be decomposed. And when we see the biodegradable waste, mostly food processing industries, then dairy industries, textile mills, slaughterhouses, etc., which have produced the biodegradable solid waste like paper, leather, wool, animal bones, wheat, etc. And this type of waste are subject to treatment processes which include combustion or composting, gasification, and biomethanation. That is already I told about this anaerobic digestion. And we can see the list of industries that employ anaerobic digestion as well as biocomposting for as a major treatment option. And you can see most of them are the industries which generate biodegradable solid waste. So particularly the sugar mills, you can see the sugar mills produce different type of solid waste like bagasse, pressed mud, molasses, and yeast biomass. So bagasse, they are all different. When you see this bagasse, when sugarcane is crushed, after crushing of taking the juice, the waste that comes out is called the bagasse. So, for example, for every 10 tons of sugarcane that is being crushed, a particular sugar factory will produce 3 tons of bagasse. So, that is a very huge amount of thing that is produced. And this bagasse is a byproduct of the sugarcane industry, but it is a raw material for its sister industry, that is the distillery industry. So always sugar industry and distillery industry are connected because the byproduct from the sugar industry is used as a resource for this distillery industry, particularly this bagasse. And then we have a pressed mud. Pressed mud is also it's also called as filter cake. So this is after the clarification of the sugar juice. After clarification of the sugar juice, by adding some clarifiers just to make it clear, because it will have a lot of suspended material in the sugar juice after extraction. So it is made to clarify by adding some clarifying agents, and then it is being filtered. After filtered, the thing that is retained in the filter, that is actually it is compressed to form a filter cake. So that is called, after taking the oil, we compress the solid material to form the oil cake. So likewise, we have the filter cake after this vacuum filtration and the pressing. So that is usually called as the press mud or the filter cake. So that filter cake or the press mud is usually managed by composting, and after composting, it is used as a good fertilizer because it contains a good amount of nutrients. Then we have the molasses, and molasses is also an byproduct which is obtained during the processing of sugar. sugarcane juice after processing. You get this molasses, and this molasses will be fermented, and then it will be used even like bagasse, it will be used for in the distillery industry for ethanol synthesis after fermentation. And then after fermentation, we also get the biomass, because yeast will be used for the fermentation. Fermentation is nothing but the production of alcohol from this sugar. And this after fermentation, we get the yeast is used to ferment this sugar, and then we get the yeast biomass. This biomass is called the fermented yeast biomass. That is also a type of solid waste that is generated from the sugar-based industry. That is actually used for anaerobic digestion for the production of biogas, and also a product called as digestate. So biogas, it is an added advantage of treatment of this solid waste by biomethanation, because biogas has a high calorific value and is used as a fuel. Then you have other type of waste like slaughterhouse waste, which includes substances like organs, tissues, blood, hides. Hides means skin of animals, excreta, carcasses, etc., which is also means treated by biomethanation product a process where you get both biogas and the anaerobic digestate. Then we have the paper mills where pulp is produced. For paper production, the wood will be first process. The wood will be to the wood acids and other substances. Chemicals will be added to make the wood into a pulp or a soft thing, because wood is a hard structure. And to make paper, the wood will be dissolved into a pulp-like structure, like a fruit pulp. So this pulp is after extraction of the required material. This pulp remains as a solid waste, which is then used for biomethanation, for biogas production and digestate. In the paper shavings, which the bark, etc., will be composted. Wood waste like paper boards, they are also combusted and gasified. Then you have the dairy industries, where we have products like whey and milk cream. That's also an important constant which can be used for biomethanation for biogas production. Then sago factories, sago, which uses cassava plant, where the starchy materials and peels remains as a solid waste, which can be used as biomethanation. And animal husbandry, animal excrete and body fluids, which is also for biomethanation. Food processing, vegetable can be used for both biomethanation and also in certain areas composting. And apart from this, these are all the primary waste. Apart from this, the secondary waste like the sludge that is coming from the, for example, after the sewage treatment plant or after the industrial waste treatment using aerobic or anaerobic treatment, you get the sludge. This sludge particularly will be composted, which will be used for composting. So composting, when you talk of composting, composting is nature's, as I told you, the nature's way of recycling material. It's a natural or biological process which mimics the natural biological condition. But here, composting also occurs naturally in the natural environment. Wherever you put organic waste, it will be degraded by organisms in the soil, which will be converted into simpler organic matter. So that is the basic principle of composting, converting the complex organic matter into simpler organic substances, which can be taken up by the plants. So plants cannot take up the natural organic matter that is high in lignin or high in cellulose. Plants cannot take this organic matter. So this organic matter will be converted in the simpler form called the humus. Now, the humus is the type of organic matter which can be readily taken up by the plants as an organic matter source. So the composting is a better way of disposal, so that you get a value-added product in the form of nutrients or a manure, which can be added as a plant, added to plants as a manure. So here, this is a completely biological process involving microorganisms, and also some conditions, environmental conditions. So if the composting has to be effective, it has to have certain suitable environmental conditions. So in the natural environment, if you are putting a lot amount of waste, if it is a under a normal environment condition, composting cannot process or cannot go forward a very in a speedy manner. So for this, we have to have some control condition. We have to provide the optimum moisture. We have to have the optimum temperature. We have to maintain the compost under these optimum conditions without much of stagnant water or much of heat evolving from that. Then the organic matter will be easily converted into humus. So that is why we call as composting as a controlled controlled degradation process or microbial degradation process. So this type of composting process can be taken up for a certain type of industrial waste, particularly the secondary sludge or the sludge that is arising after wastewater treatment, also and also certain type of solid waste, industrial solid waste. In the first session, technical session of this seminar, you might have heard from Sri Jose about the different types of composting of municipal solid waste or the waste from arising from the households. And here I'll just tell about the mechanism of composting. So it's purely a biological, microbial, and also a biochemical process. There are two groups of organisms like the aerobic as well as the anaerobic microorganisms decompose this organic matter into compost, which is high in humus. The humus content will be high. So organic matter at a particular temperature will convert the microorganisms at a particular temperature, will convert the organic matter into compost, will degrade the organic matter into the compost. And the major factors influencing the composting process are particularly the carbon nitrogen ratio on the which is present in the compost. So the carbon and nitrogen ratio means the percentage of carbon and nitrogen in the particular means product that we are going to compost or the material that we are going to compost. For example, if the product contain 30% of carbon and 1% of nitrogen, the ratio is 30:1. So it's if it is 40% of carbon and 1% of nitrogen, it is 40:1. Why this is important? This is very much important because when microorganisms degrade the organic compounds, it requires for its growth, it requires both carbon and nitrogen. If only carbon is there, then the microorganisms cannot multiply. So there should be a suitable carbon and nitrogen mixture. Only then the composting process will go much forward. That is very much essential. So narrowing the carbon nitrogen ratio is very important. So the major type of waste will have very wide carbon nitrogen ratio, CN ratio. So it may be 80:1 or 90:1. But that has to be brought down to 30:1 or below 30:1 so that the composting can move forward very fastly, or the process will be quick. Otherwise, the process will be very slow. Even though if you are adding a lot of microorganisms, if the CN ratio is very wide, then the microorganisms cannot multiply very fast because of the lack of nitrogen. Then the second thing is aeration, because most of the organisms are aerobic, which are involved in the degradation. There are also anaerobic microorganisms, and there are all certain type of composting which is completely anaerobic, involving anaerobic microorganisms. They are called anaerobic composting process. That's also there, but mostly composting is aerobic there, so we have to aerate it. Or else what will happen is after a particular period of time, microorganisms will use up the oxygen, and all the oxygen will be depleted. Then the condition of this compost pile will turn into anaerobic. Then it cannot act. The microorganisms cannot proceed further. So it has to be turned. The pile has to be turned either manually or mechanically. Or we can also, I'll show you. Already you might have seen some photographs earlier in the earlier lectures, but still I'll show you how they are being aerated to maintain the proper conditions of air, oxygen. As well as when you aerate, you will also reduce the temperature. The temperature will easily evolve because the temperature begins to build up, because biodegradation is an exothermic process where there will be a release of temperature during the degradation process of complex organic matter to simple organic matter. temperature will be released. So this will lead to build-up of temperature in the compost pile. That also has to be controlled by aeration or spraying moisture. Moisture content also should be sufficient. So these are the important parameters that we have to take while we are doing composting. This is not only for industrial solid waste, but also for all any type of solid waste that you are proposed to for composting. And moisture level is also important. And there are the different phases that initially the composting process begins with the mesophilic temperature. Mesophilic means means 40 degrees centigrade is mesophilic temperature. The temperature will be or normal, what we call as a normal a room temperature, mesophilic temperature. Then then slowly the temperature rises to a thermophilic condition. So I told you when biodegradation starts, it is an exothermic. It releases heat and the temperature begins to increase or shoot up. So during this time, the mesophilic organisms will slow down, or it will just the multiplication of mesophilic organisms may go dormant, and then the thermophilic organisms take up, and they begin to utilize this this substrate, and then it begins to degrade the organic matter. And then comes the maturation phase, or the final phase of the compost. So the total process may take from 3 to 6 or 7 months, particularly depending upon the CM ratio and also depending upon the constants of this matter which you are going to compost. Particularly when you see the industrial base, obviously it will take a lot more time than the normal composting of or normal. So it's generally done under aerobic condition. So atmospheric oxygen, maybe more than 5% of the volume will be oxygen. And to provide this, it will be turned, it will be moisturized, so that this compost will be at a favorable environmental condition for the microorganisms to. So the initial mesophilic phase will be only for a few days, and last for a few days. So a lot of fungi and bacteria grow in this, and then there will be a rapid breakdown of this complex organic matter into soluble sugars, and then the thermophilic takes place, which will last for longer time. Though, so that's why you can feel like vapor coming out of water vapor coming out of this compost pile because of this thermophilic stage. So this break down the tough organic compounds like proteins or tough plant material like cellulose, lignin, etc. will be broken down. And during this time, the advantage is the high temperature will also kill the pathogens that are present in this compost pathogens. And also, if you are using plant-based material for composting, it will also kill the weeds, kill pathogenic organisms. So this final compost will be free of such type of unwanted pathogens, and also unwanted weeds that may grow from this compost. And finally, in the maturation phase, you'll get a low temperature substance, which is also different in texture, smell, structure, and the more stable thing. So you have more of mesophilic bacteria, active bacteria, and other actinobacteria which are prevailing in this type of compost. So organisms involved, particularly bacteria, you have a lot of heterotrophic bacteria. Most of them are heterotrophic, which decompose the organic matter and derive their energy from this organic matter. So they involve the decomposition. Then we have another group of the microorganisms known as the actinobacteria. Previously, they were known as the actinomycetes. For example, streptomyces, streptomyces, all these belong to the actinomyces. They are in between bacteria and fungi, like they have common characteristics with bacteria and also fungus. Now they are termed as a different group known as the actinobacteria. And they are very much efficient in degrading polymeric substances like lignin, chitin, protein, cellulose, etc. So this has an important role in degrading this very hard to degrade substances, natural as well as man-made substances. And then you have also the fungi. Fungi are also break down lignin. There are lignin degrading fungi, and also cellulose tough compounds are degraded by fungi and this actinobacteria. Actinobacteria or actinomyces has a characteristic smell. You might have noticed after a rain. After rain, you get a characteristic earthy smell. മണ്ണിന്റെ മണം എന്ന് പറയുന്ന പോലെ it gets a earthy smell. That is due to the actinobacteria that is present in the soil. Because of rainwater, this you get this particular smell. So these are the three major groups of organisms that are involved in the composting process. Now there are a lot of composting microorganisms also ready as effective microorganisms that we can add in this compost pit to enhance the composting process. And finally, when you say the compost is ready, it looks mature. It will be dark brown, crumbly, and loose. When you hold this compost, it will just you can see the texture of the compost. Then it has an earthy smell. As I told you, this earthy smell, particularly, it is due to the presence of the actinobacteria like organisms. And then the pile will be reduced in volume. Why it is reduced in volume? Because most of the carbon containing compounds will be degraded by the bacteria, and it will release as carbon dioxide. So C will be reduced. That is why the CN ratio will be narrowed down. For example, from 60:1 to 90:1, the CN ratio will be coming down. The N will be there. Some of the N maybe escape as ammonia, but most of the nitrogen will be there. But the carbon goes as carbon dioxide. So this volume of the pile will be reduced to 1/3 of its original volume. And industrial waste also follow this windrows already. Joseph might show this windrows. It's long piles for the windrows, and they are aerated by turning the pipe periodically, either manually or mechanically, and they are suited for a variety of diverse type of waste, including the industrial waste or type of industrial waste. Then we have the aerated static pipe. It's static; it is not turned both manually or mechanically. The organic waste is mixed in one large pile instead of the rows. And here, because it's a single pile, it gets heated up easily. You can see the heat that is coming up because of the when it turns to a thermophilic state. So to aerate this, and also to reduce the heat that is formed in the pile, air is passed through several pipes, and also bulking agents also added, and the air is passed through this pipe to aerate this, and also to reduce the heat. And this requires very less maintenance than the window composting, because there we have to turn occasional turning has to be given, and it requires less space also than the window composting. And then we have the in-vessel composting, particularly if you are having certain type of industrial waste that have some toxic components which cannot be done in the open area. This type of this in-vessel or the controlled composting. Here everything is controlled. You have electronically controlled temperature, moisture, and all things can be controlled externally from in this in-vessel composting. It's also called as a bioreactor because it's similar to a bioreactor. And the computer provides greater control on the composting process. When the moisture gets reduced, it records the moisture content, and automatically moisture will be added. The temperature will be slowed down by adding of moisture or air or oxygen. So this is also a type of composting. And as I said earlier, one of the examples that we can tell is the management of latex sludge, with special reference to biocomposting, which was done by Dr. Leena Sundaram, who has been awarded PhD recently. And I'll tell some of the things what she have done from HLL Life Care Limited. The solid waste was obtained from HLL Life Care Limited. Again, formerly it was known as the Hindustan Latex Limited, and it is one of the largest consumer of rubber in the form of latex for the manufacture of milk and condoms. And now HLL is the only company in the world offering condoms, oral pills in one roof. So it can just imagine the quantity that it is being manufactured, and so obviously the quantity of solid waste that is also being produced. And HLL also manufacture other health care products like blood collection bags, surgical stitches, tissue expanders, etc. And the annual production capacity is 1.3, approximately 1.3 billion pieces. And the latex consumption is increasing throughout. You can see the difference, the latex consumption, and the significant feature is that it has an effluent treatment plant. And usually we take our students there to see this effluent treatment plant here in Trivandrum, in the Trivandrum Industry Unit. And it has been in use in this effluent treatment plant, ETP has been used since 1969, and present ETP plant, it can handle up to 1,000 kiloliter per day of wastewater that is produced from the industry. So this wastewater, after treatment, it produces the latex ETP sludge. This is what we targeted for a biocomposting process. ETP sludge is the effluent treatment plant sludge. After treatment of wastewater, aerobic treatment, this produces the sludge, which is an inevitable byproduct obtained after effluent treatment, the effluent treatment plant. And usually sludge is something we tell as a solid waste that settles after wastewater treatment. Normally other things we don't tell as a sludge. Sludge we refer to only after it settles after a particular wastewater treatment plant. So this is separated from the semi-solid part, and approximately 750 tons of sludge is produced every year, and they have a lot of things going on for disposing this type of sludge, because it is non-hazardous. They are using it for various purposes like brick formation of bricks and other things like solid things which can be used, which can be reused. And you can see this is the effluent treatment plant layout, which consists of a grid cum screen chamber through which the wastewater process, then a skimmer to remove the oil in the collection tank, then there's a mixing channel where it passes through the baffles. Baffles are nothing but cross walls through which, when the wastewater passes through, it gets treated because of the microorganisms that are attached as a biofilm to these baffles. Then you have the primary settling tank where this water, because after all this microbial treatment and the settling tank, the microbes and other undegraded part of the wastewater settles down. Then it is again aerated to improve the microbial activity, and then it goes to the secondary settling tank where you get the sludge. After settling, the settling part is called the sludge. This sludge again is it's dried, and then it is being used for various purposes. And here we thought of using the sludge, trying for composting the sludge. So this advantages of using the sludge is it has lot of components, but it has lot of other components. Usually sludge will be rich in organic matter. Usually sludge which is obtained from other industries will be rich in organic matter, and also major and as well as minor nutrients. Major nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, and minor nutrients like calcium, magnesium, and other microelements. But in the case of latex ETP, the organic content was very less. The organic content is very less, but the other nutrients are high. So in order to improve the organic, because without a proper organic matter content, the microorganisms cannot act on the sludge. So it was decided to mix with this the certain bulking agents, and the bulking agents were also chosen, which are also solid waste that are to be disposed, and also external addition of certain microorganisms that are useful for which can enhance the biodegradation process. So here you can just see the table. So this was a composition of the latex sludge. Latex sludge, you can see that the organic carbon is very less. So it's only 9%, and then nitrogen is approximately 1.9%. So the CN ratio will be only 4. Only around 4, for example. That's very less, very less CN ratio for microorganism tract. But when you see the other nutrients are high, the phosphorus is high, potassium, and the CN ratio is only 5, around 5, 4.74. So this needs some bulking agents to improve the carbon content, to improve the composting process. So these bulking agents which we selected are coapit, sawdust, and cow dung. These are also obtained as a solid waste which contain different organic carbon content. So coapit and sawdust, the organic carbon content is very high because it contains more of lignin and cellulose, and in cow dung it is comparatively less. And these three were used as a bulking agents. Bulking agents is nothing but some additives we add to this sludge to improve the quality of the sludge, to enhance the degradation process and improve the quality, the texture, and also the quality of the nutrient quality of the sludge. And what Lina has selected was different combinations. I'm not going into the depth of the experiment, just to show that this was a success story in biocomposting the latex sludge. The latex sludge in a particular proportion, along with other amendments, or like what we call it as bulking agents like sawdust, cow dung, and fire pit, are added in different compositions. And we also added different microorganisms, specifically microorganisms. Streptomyces is an actinomyces, or an actino bacteria. So used as a bioinoculum. These organisms were used as a bioinoculum. And the pleurotus, there is a mushroom, and the pleurotus is a fungus. It's a mushroom, is a fungus. It can grow well in organic substrate. Normally this mushroom is cultivated in a cellulose substrate like rice straw, or any other substrate. Where it grows, it degrades this rice straw. So this was also selected as a bioinoculum. So this bioinoculum was added along with this different combinations. They were added in different concentrations, and this was composted for 3 months. And the compost was almost ready by 3 months, and this we could test by means of the different composting, different parameters, the composting parameters, compost maturity parameters. So streptomyces, I told you, it's a type of actinobacteria which are gram-positive filamentous, and saprophytic bacteria that is commonly found in soil, rhizosphere, as well as the compost. And they have a complex life cycle. They secrete several type of hydrolytic enzymes. Hydrolytic enzymes are essential for the degradation of organic matter, for the initial breakdown of organic matter. For example, the breakdown of carbohydrate, or protein, or lipids, involve the degradation of complex organic matter, even like cellulose or starch. And they have an important role in the mineralization. Mineralization is the complete degradation of organic matter to carbon dioxide and water. And they are flexible nutritionally and aerobically. They can degrade resistant substances like pectin, lignin, keratin, and also latex and aromatic compounds. And here we found that the organic compound CN ratio, the white CN ratio could be reduced to a greater extent, and the ultimate compost could form a good or suitable CN ratio that was suitable for suitable to be used to use this particular sludge along with other amendments as a compost. And among the different organisms or the different amendments that were used, to find that the cow dung um, gave a good result, or it could give the good CN ratio, and also the finally at the compost we have to check for the maturity, how the compost has maturity. For that, the color, texture, and odor of the compost will be analyzed. The color should be dark color, texture should be normal texture. We hold it, it should hold like a ball. That's what the texture of the compost should be. There should not be larger materials in there. In odor also, it should have an earthy odor, which is comfortable odor. The CN ratio should be less than 20, maybe 20 is to 1 or 15 is to 1 is the normal, approximately 12 is to 1 is the normal compost CN ratio that is required for it to be used as a. And then we can also see the humus, which consists of humic acid and fulvic acid, the concentration of these compounds in the compost to check the maturity of the compost, and also germination test. Germination tests are done to test the phytotoxicity that this compost contains many toxic substances that are toxic to this any type of plants or seeds. And here Lina has conducted the growth on cowpea, tested the growth of these compost that are derived of this, and latex slide on cowpea, and derived on certain conclusions that how effective this addition of amendments to this latex compost to the latex sludge can be used as a compost as well as a good manure. And then we just, in short, we'll see the next part, that's anaerobic digestion. Anaerobic digestion is nothing but it's also a biodegradation process under in the absence of oxygen. And you can see there are a lot of substrate that are used for this anaerobic digestion process or the biomethanation process, like manure or organic compounds, food waste, wastewater treatment sludge, or the secondary waste.